So you stopped going to church. I get it. Absolutely no judgment here whatsoever. I'm sure if you told me your story, I'd clearly see your logic. So look, this channel isn't about trying to get you to go back. It's about helping you understand and practice the Christian faith, especially if you don't go to church right now. And if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if we haven't met, hi, my name's Corey, and I'm an ordained minister and church planter. I'm also the pastor of RedeemerOnline.Church, the channel you're watching right now. I help people sort out what it looks like to live a spiritual life outside the conventional or traditional walls of the church building. And one of the questions that I hear from folks, perhaps people just like you, is, hey, we stopped going to church, but what does faith look like for my kids now? I mean, they're not going to Sunday school, they're not sitting in a service or attending a youth group, so what does it look like now? And that's a great question. So I thought it'd be worthwhile to actually do a 3-part little video series on exactly that. In this video, we're gonna start with a foundation, and then we'll add to that foundation, build on it in future videos. And you might be comforted to know that the question about raising kids with faith isn't a new one, even if it's new to you. So I want to look at one piece of ancient writing on this matter. It comes from Proverbs 22, verse 6. It's been often misunderstood, but I think it'll be helpful to dig into as you think about your kid's faith today. One translation says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Now, often this passage is misunderstood as an instruction or a promise. If you train a child to live out your values and behaviors, in the future, they'll never stray from them. Of course, if you've raised kids or you have kids that are grown now, you know that this isn't exactly accurate. So what does it mean? Well, as opposed to an instruction, this passage is really an observation. And it's an observation that's been echoed by psychologists still today. Here's what I mean. If you've got kids, have you ever had this experience? That experience where you open your mouth and you hear your parents come out? You find yourself saying things that you thought you'd never say in a million years. You know, whenever we're driving past our favorite fast food restaurant, my son might yell from the back seat, "Dad, can we get chicken?" And before I can even think about it, I hear my own mom come out of my mouth. Nope, we've got food at home. Or anytime I ask my child to do something, like put on your shoes, or please eat 3 more bites, or please keep your seatbelt on, or let's get dressed, or don't throw that at your sister. And then they utter that 3-letter question. Why? I hear myself saying, because I said no. I promised myself that I wouldn't do that one. I do that one all the time. You see, the reality is that whether my folks were intentional or not, they had an impact on me. And whether I'm intentional about it or not, I'm going to have an impact on my kids because we affect the environment that they grow up in. Psychoanalyst Dr. Anna Maria Rizzuto put it this way when she said, "What you believe to be true about God is largely shaped by your primary relational attachments and the environment that you were raised in." That means that if you had unreliable parents and a chaotic environment growing up, you're more likely to view God that way. If you had overly critical parents, nitpicking your every move, withholding love based on behavior, you're more likely to view God that way. And here's the ancient author's point. Whether I'm intentional about it or not, I'm going to have an impact on my kids. He's pointing to this universal truth. This isn't a Christian thing or a religious thing. It's just a people thing. There is no neutral position. We're always shaping our child's experience. We're always starting them or training them in a way, in a direction. And you know this, directions are difficult to shake. The direction you were started in as a child can be tough to alter. You've got deeply ingrained habits, emotional regulatory systems, worldviews, and beliefs. I've got triggers for guilt and shame that are all rooted in my primary relational attachments and the environment that I was raised in. We've got food at home is kind of a funny example, but it goes way deeper than that. What you think about the roles of men and women in society, your expectations of relationships, how you view rich people or how you think about poor people, how you interact with people who aren't like you, how you deal with misfortune and pain and suffering. These are all deeply rooted in an operating system whose source code was put in place by our primary relational attachments in the environment we were raised in. We're always creating those environments in which the next generation's faith is being shaped. We're always training up kids in the way they should go. And when they're adults, it'll be tough to break away from those, which means If you raise your kids in an environment in which you live as though everyone bears the image of God, everyone contains a piece of the divine, everyone is worthy of dignity, value, love, and respect, regardless of their faith, race, language, or life circumstance. If you start a child in a way they should go, when they're older, they will not turn from it. Friends, this isn't an instruction or a promise. It's an ancient observation that still rings true today. So you stopped going to church, but now you're wondering, how do I raise my kids in the faith? Even if you still go to church and you're wondering this question too, I'd suggest we all ask ourselves, what do we want their faith to look like? Maybe we can make a list. What kinds of things would go on that list? And then we could ask, what kind of environment would facilitate that list? You see, it's easy to outsource curating that environment to a local church or to a Christian school. And I don't think those are necessarily a bad thing. But whether you outsource or not, it's worth answering these questions for ourselves. We are the primary curators of our kids' environment. We get to start, train, and direct. You get to determine the direction of the faith of your kids by determining the environment you raise them in. It's up to you and me. So what are going to be the habits or the practices or the postures or the conversations? Not sure where to start on those? That's exactly where I think we'll go next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.